The holding cells beneath the tribunal complex were cold, sterile, and filled with the quiet desperation of the condemned. Commander Cain pressed his palm against the security scanner, feeling the familiar bite of the biometric reader against his skin. The heavy door slid open with a hiss, revealing a corridor lined with transparent energy barriers. Behind each barrier stood a prisoner, all female, all from different species across the Galactic Union, and all scheduled for execution at dawn. Cain had served in the Terran diplomatic corps for 12 years, but nothing in his training had prepared him for this moment. The official charge was treason. The real crime was knowledge. "You are the human representative?" The voice came from the nearest cell, belonging to a tall figure with violet skin and forearms. Her name was Petra, according to the datapad Cain carried. "I am," Cain replied, meeting her gaze. "Commander James Cain, Earth Delegation." "Then you already know why we are here," Petra said quietly. "You know what they fear." Cain did know. 3 months ago, a scientific expedition had discovered an ancient installation on the rim world of Talos 7. Inside that installation, a team of researchers found records that predated the Galactic Union by millennia. Records that revealed a truth so dangerous that the Union's Council of Elders had classified it at the highest level. But classifications meant nothing when 7 members of that research team were all female, all brilliant, and all capable of understanding the mathematical proofs they had uncovered. The records proved that the energy matrix sustaining the Union's faster-than-light travel network was slowly decaying. Not over centuries, but over decades. Within 50 years, the entire network would collapse, stranding billions across thousands of worlds. The Union's infrastructure, its economy, its very existence depended on a technology that was dying. The Council's solution was not to warn the population or seek alternatives. Their solution was silence. Permanent silence. "They gave you a choice," Petra continued. "Memory wipe or execution? Most of us chose death rather than lose ourselves." Cain had read the files. Of the 7 researchers, 5 had refused the procedure. 2 had accepted, only to die during the neural extraction, when their minds instinctively resisted the invasion. The Council decided execution was more efficient. "I need to understand something," Cain said, moving closer to the barrier. "The Union has Earth's vote on the Security Council. If I oppose this, if I try to stop the executions, I risk our entire species' standing in galactic politics. Why should I sacrifice human interests for 5 individuals?" A different voice answered from a cell further down. "Because today it is us. Tomorrow it might be your people." The speaker was Lisa, a being whose species communicated through bioluminescent patterns across their skin. Even through the barrier, Cain could see the subtle flickers of color. Fear and determination mixed together. "The Council fears information," Lisa continued. "They believe control comes from ignorance. If they execute us for knowing the truth about the network, what will they do when other inconvenient facts emerge? When other research teams discover other secrets?" Cain walked slowly down the corridor, looking at each prisoner. There was Nina, whose species possessed eidetic memory and could never forget what they had learned. There was Rachel, young by her species standards, barely into her research career when the expedition had launched. And there was Maria, the expedition leader, who had tried to negotiate with the Council for months before being arrested. "What was your plan?" Cain asked Maria. "When you discovered the records, what did you intend to do?" Maria's 3 eyes focused on him with unsettling intensity. "We intended to publish. To warn every world, every species. To give the Union 50 years to find a solution instead of hiding the problem until catastrophe strikes." She paused. "The Council called that treason. We called it responsibility." Cain checked his chronometer. 6 hours until the scheduled executions. 6 hours to decide if one human's principles are worth risking Earth's fragile position in galactic society. There is something else, Petra said. Something we did not tell the Council because we knew they would never believe us. Cain turned back to her. What? The records at Talos 7 contained more than warnings. They contained the beginning of a solution. The civilization that built the network left behind the tools to repair it, to stabilize it. Petra's 4 arms gestured in frustration against the barrier. But the math is complex. It requires specialists from multiple fields. It requires the 7 of us working together. The Council does not want a solution, Maria added bitterly. They want the crisis. When the network fails, they will blame it on natural decay, on unpredictable forces. They will consolidate power in the chaos. They will decide which worlds receive the limited resources, which populations get evacuated, which civilizations survive. Cain felt something cold settle in his chest. He had seen this pattern before, back on Earth in humanity's own bloody history. Leaders who chose control over truth. Governments that preferred disaster to admitting mistakes. If I help you escape, Cain said slowly, Earth becomes a pariah state. The Council will revoke our trading rights, our travel permits, our seat on the Security Council. Billions of humans depend on galactic commerce. Yes, Petra agreed simply. That is the cost. Cain stood in silence for a long moment. Behind him, the corridor door opened and a guard appeared. Commander Cain, your visitation time is concluded. I need 5 more minutes, Cain said without turning around. The guard hesitated, then nodded and withdrew. Cain pulled out his personal cum device and began typing. He sent 3 messages. The first went to the Earth delegation, formally resigning his position effective immediately. The second went to his family, a brief apology and explanation. The third went to a coded address known only to a few trusted individuals in the Terran diplomatic corps. The messages you just sent, Lisa observed, her bioluminescent patterns shifting to curiosity. They were not requests for permission. No, Cain confirmed. They were notifications. In human culture, we have a saying, do what is right, not what is easy. He looked at each prisoner in turn. My species nearly destroyed itself dozens of times because leaders chose comfortable lies over hard truths. I will not let that pattern repeat here. He pulled a small device from his jacket, something that looked like an ordinary data key, but contained highly illegal Terran military technology. Humanity had agreed not to use certain technologies as a condition of joining the Union. This device violated 3 separate treaties. When I activate this, every energy barrier in this facility will fail for approximately 90 seconds, Cain explained. A ship is waiting at docking port 7. The pilot is human and does not ask questions. She will take you to a neutral research station beyond Union jurisdiction. They will hunt us, Maria said. They will hunt you. Probably, Cain agreed. But you will be alive to be hunted. And maybe, just maybe, you'll have time to finish decoding those records. To find that solution. To save the billions who do not know they need saving. He activated the device. The barriers flickered and died. Alarms began shrieking throughout the complex. Go, Cain commanded. Docking port 7. The ship is called Freedom's Gambit. The pilot's name is Torres. Tell her I sent you. The 5 prisoners emerged from their cells, moving quickly despite their obvious confusion. Petra paused as she passed Cain. Why? She asked. You sacrificed everything. Cain smiled grimly. Because in a few decades, when the network fails, humanity will need allies who remember that one human chose truth over politics. Now run. They ran. Cain stood alone in the corridor as security forces converged on his position. He raised his hands slowly, making no threatening moves. The captain of the guard recognized him. "Commander Cain, you are under arrest for treason against the Galactic Union." "Understood," Cain replied calmly. "I invoke my rights under Terran law to legal representation and due process." The captain hesitated. Terran law was notoriously complex and provided extensive protections. Processing Cain could take months. By then, the escaped prisoners would be long gone. "Take him to processing," the captain ordered. As they led Cain away, he allowed himself one moment of satisfaction. 5 brilliant minds were free. 5 individuals who held the key to saving billions. 5 voices that could not be silenced. The council would be furious. Earth would face consequences. Cain himself would likely spend years fighting through Union bureaucracy. But somewhere in the darkness of space, aboard a ship called Freedom's Gambit, 5 researchers were already beginning to work. Already starting to decode the ancient records. Already taking the first steps toward a solution that the council had tried to bury. Cain had joined the diplomatic corps to serve humanity's interests. Today, he had learned that sometimes serving humanity's interests meant serving something larger. Something that transcended species and politics and comfortable lies. He had saved 5 lives. Perhaps, in time, they would save billions more. That, Cain decided as the security forces processed his arrest, was a trade worth mucky.